You've poured it onto fries 1,000 times. You probably have a bottle sitting in the door of your fridge right now. But the most familiar object in your kitchen is actually a stranger. The comforting story we've all been sold about this classic American red sauce is a carefully crafted illusion. The reality? Ketchup was originally brewed from fermented fish intestines. Later, it was peddled as a literal medicine to cure disease. And for a terrifying period in history, it was packed with deadly chemicals that could slowly poison your family. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on a 200-year deception hiding in plain sight on your dinner table. We'll expose the dark history of the world's most famous condiment and reveal why the physical shape of that iconic glass bottle was actually a matter of life and death. To understand the lie, we have to go back to the beginning. And the beginning has absolutely nothing to do with tomatoes. In 17th century China, locals brewed a pungent, fermented fish brine called kutsayap. Think of it less like a sweet burger dip and much closer to the sharp, salty fish sauce you'd find in modern Thai food. British sailors trading in Southeast Asian ports tasted this dark, savory reduction and became absolutely obsessed. They bought massive wooden barrels of it. They craved it on everything. But there was a massive problem. When those sailors finally navigated back home, the barrels ran dry. They had to figure out how to make it themselves. And that attempt to copy it is where history takes a bizarre turn, because the West was missing one massive ingredient. They couldn't replicate the complex Asian fish fermentation process. So they just started faking it. For over 100 years, European and early American cooks experimented wildly. They made mushroom ketchup, walnut ketchup. They even boiled down oysters to make oyster ketchup. They threw almost anything into a pot to recreate that savory magic. Everything, that is, except tomatoes. Because the Western world was terrified of them. Tomatoes belonged to the nightshade family of plants. At the time, conventional wisdom and leading botanical experts stated that they were highly poisonous. Therefore, for a century, ketchup remained a dark, thin, mushroomy broth. So, if tomatoes were universally considered a deadly poison, who finally risked their life to make the red sauce we know today? The answer is hiding inside a 19th century medicine cabinet. In 1812, an American scientist named James Mees published the very first recipe for tomato ketchup. But he didn't pitch it to chefs. By the 1830s, tomato ketchup was being aggressively marketed as a medical cure-all. It was sold in pill and syrup form, promising to cure everything from severe indigestion to rheumatism. But this booming medical fad created a dark, unregulated underworld. As demand skyrocketed, shady industrial manufacturers began cutting massive, dangerous corners. To make their rotting, poorly preserved sauce look vibrant and fresh, they dyed it with coal tar. To keep it from completely spoiling on the shelf, they pumped it full of copper sulfate. Industrial ketchup wasn't just unappetizing. It was actively toxic. If you bought a bottle of ketchup in 1860, you were essentially playing Russian roulette with your family's health. The sauce was killing people, and it was on the verge of being banned forever. But one man realized he could use human psychology to save it. In 1876, Henry Heinz didn't invent ketchup. He rescued it. He realized the surface problem was bad ingredients, but the deeper problem was a total lack of consumer trust. Therefore, he completely changed the formula, using only fresh, ripe tomatoes and massive amounts of vinegar to preserve it naturally. But his real stroke of genius wasn't the recipe. It was the packaging. While his competitors hid their dark, chemical-laced concoctions in opaque brown glass, Heinz chose completely transparent bottles. He wanted you to look closely and see exactly what you were buying. The iconic shape of that glass bottle wasn't just for branding. It was physical, undeniable proof of safety. And that single, contrarian decision birthed the modern food safety movement. That transparent bottle saved ketchup and transformed it into a global empire. But it also made the sauce incredibly powerful. Fast forward to 1981, during a political scandal historians now call the Ketchup Wars. To aggressively cut federal budgets, the Reagan administration attempted to legally classify ketchup as a vegetable for public school lunch programs. The public backlash was swift and fierce. The political outrage was so severe, the government was instantly forced to retreat. But this scandal proved something fascinating. Ketchup was no longer just a condiment. It was deeply, irrevocably embedded in the American cultural identity. We started this journey by looking at a cheap plastic bottle of red sauce. But the reality is much heavier. You are not just looking at tomato paste. You are looking at a 300-year-old Chinese fish brine. A recipe filtered through British colonial trade routes, exploited as an 1800s medical cure-all, and finally rescued by an American businessman obsessed with transparency. Now you know the dark truth about the sauce on your plate. But you are probably about to dip a piece of chicken into it. And you have absolutely no idea that the animal you are eating wasn't even supposed to be food. It was originally bred for ancient, brutal combat. If you want to uncover the violent, hidden history of the meat you're eating right now, click the video on screen. I'll see you there. And don't forget to like and subscribe.